how many integers that satisfy the inequality I've written on the board are less than 5? So let's just solve this inequality first, and then we'll answer the question. So the way you solve this is you figure out your critical numbers. And that term doesn't really matter for the GMAT. But what you do is you factor the top and factor the bottom that's already factored. And you take each one of your factors and you set them equal to 0. And then you solve for x. So that's x equals -2, x equals -3, x equals 2. Now, these values are actually the values of x that make this inequality equal 0 or undefined. We can't let x be 2, because if we let x be 2, we get 2 minus 2 is 0, and we can't have that in the bottom of a fraction. So what I do next is I put these numbers, my critical numbers, on the number line. Here's -3, -2, and here's 2. And I've broken my number line into 4 pieces. And I'm trying to figure out what values of x make my inequality greater than 0. In other words, what values of x will make this thing positive. So let's choose a number from each of our intervals. So let's choose -4 for this far interval on the left. I do not care about what value my inequality is when x is -4. I'm only concerned about the sign. So plug a -4 in here, here, and here. So -4 plus 2 is a negative. -4 plus 3 is a negative. All over, -4 minus 2 is a negative. 3 negatives make a negative. So anything less than -3, you're going to get a negative number. And of course, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for numbers that make it greater than or equal to 0. So this next interval, let's choose -2.5 and repeat the process. -2.5 plus 2 is negative. -2.5 plus 3 is positive. -2.5 minus 2 is negative. So you've got 2 negatives. It's going to end up being positive. Anytime you have an even number of negatives, it's going to be positive. Odd number to be negative. Now for this next interval, let's choose 0 and repeat the process. 0 plus 2 is positive. 0 plus 3 is positive. 0 minus 2 is negative. That's going to be negative. Now let's choose the last interval. Let's choose 3. 3 plus 2 is positive. 3 plus 3 is positive. 3 minus 2 is positive. That gives me positive. So the intervals that make it greater than or equal to 0 are here, here, and here. All these. Of course, we've already said we can't let x be 2. So if I go back to the question, it says, how many of the integers that satisfy the inequality are less than 5? Well, here's a 3, and here's a 4, and here's a 5, and it says less than 5. So you've got this 4 works. That's an integer that, how many of the integers that satisfy the inequality? So 4 is in the given interval, and 3 is. We can't let it be 2, but -2 works, and -3 also makes it equal to 0. So -2 and -3. So how many integers satisfy the inequality that are less than 5? The answer is 4. 4 of them.